Today is November 11th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today at the Big Book, we're going to continue our journey through Chapter 8, Two Wives. We'll be reading the second half of page 117. At the 12 and 12, we're going to continue Tradition 3. We'll read 142. And we'll read today's 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. We've been given a brand new set of 24 hours yet again. What a blessing that is just to be alive today. Yesterday's done. We have a brand new opportunity to work the program just today. So with that, let's get to the good stuff. Chapter 8, Two Wives, page 117. Some of the snags that you will encounter are irritation, hurt feelings, and resentments. Your husband will sometimes be unreasonable, and you will want to criticize. Starting from a speck on the domestic horizon, great thunderclouds of dispute may gather. These family dissensions are very dangerous, especially to your husband. Often you must carry the burden of avoiding them or keeping them under control. Never forget that resentment is a deadly hazard to an alcoholic. We do not mean that you have to agree with your husband whenever there's an honest difference of opinion. Just be careful not to disagree in a resentful or critical spirit. At the 12 and 12, we're on Tradition 3. The only requirement for AA membership is the desire to stop drinking. And if you recall from yesterday's reading, this group member, he came into the group during a time when there were a lot of rules in the early days of AA. And he says, since I'm a victim of another addiction, even worse stigmatized than alcoholism, you may not want me among you, or will you? So let's find out what happens next. Page 142. There was the dilemma. What should the group do? The oldest member summoned two others and in confidence laid the explosive facts in their laps. Said he, "Well, what about it? If we turn this man away, he'll soon die. If we allow him in, only God knows what trouble he'll brew. What shall the answer be, yes or no?" At first the elders could look only at the objections. We deal, they said, with alcoholics only. Shouldn't we sacrifice this one for the sake of many? So went the discussion while the newcomer's fate hung in the balance. Then one of the three spoke in a very different voice. What we are really afraid of, he said, is our reputation. We are much more afraid of what people might say than the trouble this strange alcoholic might bring. As we've been talking, 5 short words have been running through my mind. Something keeps repeating to me, what would the master do? Not another word was said. What more indeed could be said? Overjoyed, the newcomer plunged into 12-step work. Tirelessly, he laid AA's message before scores of people. Since this was a very early group, those scores have since multiplied themselves into thousands. Never did he trouble anyone with his other difficulty. AA had taken its first step in the formation of Tradition 3. "24 hours a day, November 11th. AA thought for the day. When I think of all who have gone before me, I realize that I am only one, not very important person. What happens to me is not so very important after all. And AA has taught me to be more outgoing, to seek friendship by going at least halfway, to have a sincere desire to help. I have more self-respect now that I have less sensitiveness. I have found that the only way to live comfortably with myself is to take real interests in others. Do I realize that I am not so important after all?" Meditation for the day. As you look back over your life, it is not too difficult to believe what you went through was for a purpose. to prepare you for some valuable work in life. Everything in your life may well have been planned by God to make you of some use in the world. Each person's life is like the pattern of a mosaic. Each thing that has happened to you is like one tiny stone in the mosaic. And each tiny stone fits into the perfected pattern of the mosaic of your life, which has been designed by God. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may not need to see the whole design of my life. I pray that I may trust the designer. Daily Reflection, November 11th. Self-acceptance. We know that God lovingly watches over us. We know that when we turn to Him, all will be well with us, here and hereafter. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 105. I pray for the willingness to remember that I am a child of God, a divine soul in human form, and that my most basic and urgent life task is to accept, know, and love and nurture myself. As I accept myself, I'm accepting God's will. As I know and love myself, I am knowing and loving God. As I nurture myself, I am acting on God's guidance. I pray for the willingness to let go of my arrogant self-criticism and to praise God by humbly accepting and caring for myself. All right, that concludes today's reading, and boy, oh boy, this last one's really hit me hard. I pray for the willingness to remember that I'm a child of God, and that my most basic and urgent life task is to accept, know, love, and nurture myself. Whew, man, that's a loaded one. But I love the word there, willingness. I'll admit to you, my friends, that I still wrestle with this. I can still get in my head. I see what happens is I face criticism every day and a little bit of disrespect every day on my job. And for a guy who had low self-esteem growing up, even working these steps for the last several 24 hours, that insecurity and those agreements based on the criticisms I receive every day, those agreements that I make, kind of keep me down. And I start to believe them. And I start to focus on the negative instead of the positive. Because throughout the day, there are both. There are negatives, but yeah, there's lots of positives too. What am I spending my energy focusing on? So right here, this word willingness. I pray for the willingness to remember that I am a child of God. And then a little further down, I just need to be willing to focus on the good. God, help me to be willing to focus on the good today. And then here, as I accept myself, I'm accepting God's will. As I know and love myself, I am knowing and loving God. So it's almost like the reverse of that. If I don't love myself, how can I love God? That's what it makes me think of. And then the last couple lines, I pray for the willingness, there it is again, to let go of my arrogant self-criticism. In a way it is, I'm self-absorbed, way too hard on myself. And to praise God. How do I do that? By humbly accepting and caring for myself. Whew. I got some homework today. So with that, my friends, that's all we have time for today. I hope you all have a good one. And if you have any tips, I guess this is a public request. If you have any spiritual tips that you've used along the years to help with self-love, self-forgiveness, and things like that, I would love to hear them. I have some things that I try to do as well. But every now and then, that self-criticism still creeps in. So I would love to hear from you. Our email is bigbookdaily@gmail.com. And thank you all so much for listening. If we're given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.